final question of the week comes from Ryan. He wrote in to beyond at IGN.com, just like you can. His question is one I got asked in person a whole bunch at Podcast Beyond 300, and pretty much wherever I go. So it's time we put it down on audio format one more time. Beyond. My name is Ryan, and I am a senior in high school in Canada. With the university just around the corner, I obviously have some major life decisions ahead of me. Seeing as video game journalism is one of my main options, I have a question for you. How difficult is it to find a job in your field of work? For example, if I graduate university with a bachelor's degree in journalism and a solid portfolio, will I most likely land a job in the field? What path did you guys take to get to IGN? Any tips for furthering my pursuit? Thanks, Beyond. It's a big question. What I always say is, I mean, you've heard our stories before. Like, I have a degree in journalism. I graduated thinking I'd be able to walk on to EGM and have no problem. That was not the case. I worked at a newspaper for a year and a half before I got to IGN. I applied 12 times. On the 13th time, I got hired. I got interviewed. I got contacted via email, interviewed, and hired within 24 hours. And what changed for me was that I had been writing about games every day for 6 months. And that was what did it, is that I had experience on a blog and a weekly column. So what I tell everybody right now when people ask me about doing this is, this job isn't... Is it hard to get at this job? Yes, incredibly. There are not many positions. How do you stand out from the pack? Start doing it now. Get a blog and write every day. Start reviewing video games. Get a podcast started with your friends. Get your camera phone, turn it around, and put up YouTube videos every day talking about it. You're not out there to get views. You're not out there to get comments. You're out there to get experience. The reason I didn't get hired at EGM the million of times I applied, or IGN the million times I applied, is that they would say, give us sample reviews. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And I would sit down and review a game. I hadn't been doing this consistently. I didn't know what I was doing. It's like a muscle, right? You got to work this craft. You got to get better, and you're going to suck in the beginning at everything you try to do. Look at our old videos, our old VOs for video reviews. We suck, but now we're really good because we did it all the time. If you get up, and I don't care if every one of your YouTube videos has 3 views on it, and when you finally apply to IGN and we can look at this thing, you've been doing it for a year, and we see how good you are on camera now, nobody's going to care about how bad you were when you first started.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm not sure much. It's
sorry.
hard.
I know we're running low on time, so I just wanted to shove in.
No, it's fine. It's hard. I think that the major piece of advice I'd give is to do it because you love it, and not as a means to an end. If that makes any sense. Even though it will end up being the means to an end if you get lucky enough to get a job in this industry.
What do you mean? Like, don't come into this trying to get to developing?
Yeah, like when I started writing for GameFAQs when I was 14, it wasn't because I wanted to get a job at IGN. It's because I loved writing about video games.
Yeah.
And 4 years later, when I was 18, a freelance position was offered to me. I didn't seek it out; it was offered to me, and that's how I got into the fold at IGN. You know,
most of the time, that's how that works here, right? Like, there's plenty of success stories. Like, Ryan Clements just responded to a post and got a job here. Didn't get, he got contact that way. But Ryan Geddes, I put out on the Mizzou listserv of other journalists, hey, we're hiring. You knew someone here that was like, when these jobs come up, we go, oh wait, I know this freelancer who's really good. Let's interview him.
Yeah, and I mean, we're having conversations with people that we're hiring some positions now, and it's it's a very similar thing where it's like, are you passionate about the games, and is it a foot in the door, or is it just because you're doing it and you're good at it, and so it ends up being a foot in the door later? Because the same thing happened when I went to Northeastern, and I majored in American history, so it has nothing to do with like journalism at all.
Sure.
I actually got to the point I was freelancing consistently for IGN, like constantly. That's how I made my living throughout college. But by the time I was like a sophomore and a junior, and I was working at Mass Historical Society, and I was transcribing documents, and I was kind of going in that direction, it's when that happened that this fell into my lap.
Right.
Like, it almost happens at unexpected times when you least, it's really like when you least expect it. I was offered my job when I graduated college. It wasn't something that like I chased, but it was something that I had this, like you said, a portfolio of things that I did, and a lot of experience and a lot of dedication that proved that I wanted it. It wasn't me just trying to get a job here.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. Being authentic, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Somebody
very much so.
When they called my references, like they called one of my references who was in the newsroom, and I didn't get to hear what questions Dunham was asking her, but one of her responses was, "Yeah, you can't fake passion." You know what I mean? Like, that comes through. And I was, on the phone with Roper and Dunham for the interview from Missouri, talking to San Francisco for the first time. I was way too enthusiastic and probably rambling and everything else, but they got to see that I really cared about this and that I had all this work that showed I could do this.
It's a perfect example. You do it because you love it and not because you're trying to do it. And it's the same thing with music. Like, this last record, I personally put tons of money into making this last record.
Right.
I never expected any money out of it going into it. The fact that we might see some kind of return is great. It's a bonus, but I never did it because that's what I was trying to do. Like, We started. I started this band not to be a successful musician because I loved making music, and if that happens along the way, then that's great.
Yeah.
I think that applies across the board.
No, totally. No, I mean, this is what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it. Get out there, start creating content now.
Yeah. Now the tools are there more than ever.
I mean, I think about that all the time. Can you imagine if we were our younger selves now? Like if we'd come up now and we had all this, like, what would we be doing? Like, what kind of crazy ass YouTube stuff would we be doing?
I almost envy. Like, I know how blessed and fortunate I am to be able to do this for a living. Like, there's no doubt in my mind about that.
No doubt.
And God, like, we did it with like such limited tools. You know,
Yeah.
like you have everything that like YouTube itself is like a platform that trumps 10 times over anything that we had before combined in terms of getting noticed. I got noticed through text documents. You know.
Yeah.
Like, so it's, man, like it's really like, carpe diem.
Users lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.